What's up, everybody? Welcome to the horrorheadspodcast. I am Rich Mallery. I'm here with my co-host, Jerry Lourenco.
Yo.
And this is episode number 3. Super excited to get back into it. I feel like we just recorded episodes 1 and 2, just put them live, and here we go, episode 3. We're going to keep it going. For those of you who don't know, it is a Monday night, and we're going to be doing some drinking on a Monday. And I don't care that I got work tomorrow because fuck it, like they're gonna have to deal with it.
I mean, I'm just gonna have a drink because I never thought we'd get to episode 3. I thought this would completely fall apart by then.
Yeah, we should toast to episode 3, and the fact that we're still doing this. So what do you got there?
I got something interesting here tonight, so I'm gonna pour it, and then can you see what that says?
It says good fucking bourbon, small batch.
Hell yeah,
is it?
It is.
It is good fucking bourbon. Okay.
Yeah, it's actually quite delicious. It's something I found the other day. I'm like, when you do some marketing as strong as that, I have to give it a try. So yeah.
Where's it from? Like where do they distill it?
So this is Minnesota.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
They're doing something up there. You got to stay warm somehow.
I was shocked for some reason. I thought it was like a Tennessee brand, but it's okay. I figured Kentucky, Tennessee is always an easy choice, but yeah, no, I'll try it.
Okay. I am going to open up a brand new bottle of High West.
Whoa.
Here we go. I haven't had this in a while. So I'm going to pour this and let's see what happens.
Man, I feel like we're really stepping it up tonight for the third episode here. We got some nice bourbons and about to take some sips. So cheers.
Oh, that is good. That tastes nice. It's got a little sweetness to it. Low proof, 46% alcohol. So that's actually not too low.
92.
Never mind. All right. So I guess I'm going to be late to work tomorrow. That's fine. So it was funny. I was talking to my dad the other day, and I was telling him how I was drinking Angel's Envy for episode 1, and he went to the Angel's Envy distillery, and they told him their opinion on the perfect way to drink bourbon. And I'm going to let you guess as to how they recommend you drink bourbon. What do you think they said?
I'm going to say probably the small nose glass neat. I mean, that's what I'm thinking.
So he didn't get into the glass, but what they told him was bourbon is best with 1 ice cube. It opens up the flavor. That's what they said. I mean, everybody has their own opinion, but they recommend Angel's Envy be drunk with 1 ice cube.
Interesting. Unfortunately, I only like my drinks 2 temperatures, either hot or cold, and I don't feel like an ice cube is going to match any of those parameters.
I mean, it could be a huge ice cube, right? I don't think they said.
Oh, a big cube. Absolutely. I love a big cube.
Yeah, he didn't say. He was probably like had a few drinks and didn't really recall exactly the type of ice cube, but they did say 1 ice cube. So I thought that was interesting.
That is pretty awesome. Well, I'm drinking out of my Dorcia's rocks glass right here.
Oh, you got a reservation there. Very nice.
I did. I know the chef.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I've been trying to get in there, but they always laugh at me when I call up.
So
all right. So we're oh, sorry. What are you gonna say about the bourbon?
No, I was gonna talk about the bourbon a minute.
Go ahead, let's do it.
Okay. I mean, if we're moving on already.
No, what do you got? What do you got?
It's all right. All right. Well, the good fucking bourbon is pretty damn good. It has that craft taste. So anyone who's ever had like any sort of craft beer, this is no different. Kind of like those floral accents when you drink it. But I would say it's pretty sweet, kind of like honey. Thin, so you don't really feel like you're drinking much. It's not really like, it doesn't put a lot of presence like on your tongue, and it's smooth, man. I could drink this all day. This is super easy drinking. I think it's only 80 proof, so I'm drinking a low proof tonight.
So it's like juice. Yeah.
I mean, this is fantastic. I think it's pretty low price, so I think if anyone sees it out there, you should pick it up.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever seen it before. And to be honest, I don't think I'm a huge fan of the craft bourbons. However, I probably have not drank enough of them to really have a huge opinion on it. I go for the classics most of the time, but since I am trying to drink a different bourbon every episode, I'm sure I will get to some at some point.
Wow, is that the goal?
That's the goal. We will see. Also, I don't think we're gonna get past episode 10. I think,
I think the FCC is going to shut us down before then. But
So, I just remembered there. So the last episode we were talking about and kind of debating briefly whether we thought Rob Zombie was a horror auteur.
mm-hmm.
And while I haven't thought about that, I do have to say that Film Threat, the prestigious film review site, while reviewing my most recent film, called me, yours truly, an erotica auteur. So
well,
there you
that
go.
deserves a round of applause. I mean, that's truth. You've been working on that your whole life, so
So
that's
there you
it.
go. I'm an erotic. They also called me a revolutionary in the erotic film space. So I will take that. Usually my movies get trashed online, so it was good to do that. And yeah, I'm the Tarantino of sexy movies, apparently. So that's cool.
That is fantastic. I definitely recommend everyone looking you up and checking out some of your movies. They have a whole host of different type of genres, which covers everything. So find something you like and watch that shit.
Hell yeah. And not to plug anymore, but that movie is We Are Wolves. It is a LGBT erotic thriller about BDSM and all kinds of crazy stuff. So watch it on Tubi right now. All right, so that's enough of my shit. We're gonna talk about some other movies. So today, we're gonna talk about this movie, Lovely, Dark, and Deep, that I really wanted to see, and we'll get into that. We're also gonna talk about the films of Ty West, since they just announced the theatrical date for Maxxxine, which is the final film of the X Pearl trilogy, and I believe it's July 5th. It'll be in theaters. Is that accurate?
I think so. I think I saw something like that myself. Yeah.
So while that is trending, I thought let's get on this. Let's talk about some Ty West. But before we get into all of that stuff, yeah, what have you been watching lately? Have you seen anything?
Yeah, I definitely been watching a few things. I don't know if you caught this shirt right here. Can you see this? What's up?
Haunt. Yeah, I love that movie.
Heck yeah. So I ordered the shirt a couple of weeks ago. It showed up. So it just kind of got me in the mood to watch it. So I rewatched Haunt from 2019. If anyone ever looked up the movie Haunt, there's probably like 6 or 7 different ones.
Yeah, be specific, like who's in this one or who, because I know I ran into the same thing because you told me to watch this movie and I watched 4 different movies before I got to the one that
Yeah, I know.
you
So this
recommended.
So this is directed by some writing team, Scott Beck and Brian Woods. I think they wrote A Quiet Place. That's probably like where they really got the notoriety from. But it was produced by Eli Roth. So that's the big thumbs up there. And it's the 2019 film. I don't think there's any other ones from 2019, probably 2018, but not 2019. So it's a fun film for anyone who never saw it before. It's a movie about a haunt or like a haunted attraction. And basically, it's a group of friends enjoying a night out on Halloween. And they decide to drive into the backwoods in search of an extreme haunt. And they end up getting a little bit more than they bargained for. So it's pretty much, your typical kind of like teen cast of usual tropes. You got like the shy girl, the slutty girl, the jock, the goofy fun guy, and they basically just go to find this haunt. And when they get there, they ignore every single red flag, like in most teen movies. So there's no cars in the parking lot. There's one Yelp review. They have to surrender their phones. There's this one creepy host. They ignore all this. They're like, no, let's do this, and let's get go into this haunt. So I'm not going to spoil it too much. I think the movie is a lot of fun, and the set pieces look great, and there's a lot of fun scares and brutal kills. And I think the most exciting thing about it is like the haunt actors, and there's a little bit of a twist involving them, like when you find out like who they really are. I think that's pretty fun and very different. So it's a slasher film. If you're into that genre, if you're into like the haunt genre, which I'm really getting into, I say check it out. It's a good film.
Yeah, like I only watched this film because you highly recommended it. And to be honest, like if you didn't recommend it, I probably would have shut it off early or I never would have given it a chance. But I actually really did like that movie too. It was definitely way different than what I expected. It gets brutal and graphic in some parts and was just held my attention the whole way, which at first I'm like, I'm going to be so annoyed by this movie. But no, I really like that movie a lot. So yeah, I need to rewatch it.
Great film, great pacing. just maybe last year or the year before I started getting into these types of films. I don't know. I avoided them as well. I always thought they were probably like kind of lame or something like that. But I think I caught like Hellfest a couple years ago, and it kind of sparked an interest in these type of films. So I've been trying to watch them since then. So like Houses October Built, Dark Rides, a whole bunch of movies in that genre, and actually I like them all.
How do you feel about haunts in real life? Is that something you kind of check out around Halloween time?
Yeah, I used to.
What
now,
happened?
now I'm like an old guy,
Oh.
So people are like, "Is that your kid?" I'm like, "No, man, I'm here for me."
I still love them, man. I will go. I will try to hit a bunch of them if I can in LA. There's a ton of them. I don't go to Universal Horror Nights anymore just because I'm priced out of it. The tickets are ridiculous, and unless you buy the front of line passes, which end up being like $300, you're gonna wait online for over an hour for some of these things, and waiting over an hour for like a 60-second thing is not worth it. But there are a lot of smaller ones around here that are super fun. And yeah, I'm a huge fan. I don't care how old I get. I'm still gonna want to be scared. And I still
I don't.
know I know where everything is. I know where they're coming from, but I still have a blast, man. You can't take that away from me. So I watched two movies, neither of which I liked. So the first one I watched, yeah, I really didn't like.
Shocking.
But you know, it's funny, like actually now that I'm watching movies for this podcast, I'm sticking with things that I would normally shut off within 10 minutes. I don't know if that's good or bad that I'm doing that, but like, I'm gonna give things a chance more than I would have, especially, and I'm kind of glad I got actually, because otherwise I'll spend hours looking for a movie and I'll watch 10 minutes and spend another hour. This way I'm like, I'm in for the night, I'm gonna watch this movie. So the first one I watched that I did not like was called The Door in the Woods. And
Sounds horrible.
it's about, yeah, exactly. I thought haunted door. I was like, fuck it. Like, we watched haunted swimming pool. I'm gonna watch something about a haunted door. And apparently they made a sequel to this movie too. I don't know why. But anyway, so the movie focuses on this married couple, and they have this kid who gets bullied, and he's kind of got some like problems or whatever. And the woman is like the stay-at-home crafty person who's going to get like an Etsy store, and they move into this new house, and they're wandering around the woods, I guess, near their house, and they find this door just standing in the middle of the woods, just a door upright, and the door is like chains on it, and it's creepy. And this woman has the bright idea, like, let's bring this door home and put it in our brand new house.
No,
And that's that.
absolutely
And then
not. What are
they,
you thinking?
yeah, and the door doesn't even look like a nice door. It looks like this fucked up, like it looks like a haunted door. So she puts it in the house, and then of course, as soon as she does, like weird supernatural shit starts happening, and blah blah blah. And they can't get rid of the door for whatever reason. And the movie kind of like turns into almost like a silly Insidious. Like they have the seance because it's a whole thing. And but the movie was like super cheesy. The acting was really bad. Like I hated this couple. Like everything about it was just boring. And just again, you'd seen this movie before, but seen done better. Like there were scares that weren't scary and ghosts that weren't scary. And I don't know. So,
I can't even imagine what part two would be like.
yeah, I think the second one is The Girl in the Woods, something like that. And had no idea they were related, but I was doing my research, and apparently it's a sequel to this movie. But anyway, so I would skip Door in the Woods. And then the other one I watched was this movie called Room 203, and it's about these two female best friends who go away to college, and they rent this apartment, and the apartment there's like a hole in one of the walls, and in the hole is like this necklace, and then one of them puts the necklace on, and then she starts acting weird, and bad supernatural shit starts happening, blah 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 blah. And basically you've seen this movie before. It's like every haunted something movie. I'll say the acting was good. The two actresses were pretty good. It's shot well, but again, it's generic. You've seen this movie before. And the one thing I had that just annoyed the shit out of me was they move in this apartment. There's this pretty big like hole, like maybe like the size of like your two hands together hole, like not like the whole wall's a hole, but it's like a hole. And they don't cover it with like a painting or something.
Just
Like,
leave it
you
there.
would just have a hole in the wall. And like, they decorate the rest of the house. Like there's stuff everywhere, but they just left this one creepy hole like out. And so I had a problem with that. But I would skip that. I think it was from 2022. It's a pretty new movie. It's put out by Vertical, who occasionally will do some decent horror movies. So the budget's like decent, but again, like it's another one of those movies where I didn't get the point of it. Like I'd seen this before. So two skips.
And it sounds like you were on the hunt for some good supernatural films and just didn't get that fix, huh?
Yeah, I was, especially after watching the movie that we're going to talk about, Lovely, Dark, and Deep, which I really wanted to like this movie. It sounded really interesting. It's kind of like it's a movie that I should like. And I was really disappointed by it, and we'll get into the reasons why. So I'm like, let me watch something spooky and scary that I can get into it. And it was just fail after fail. So, all right, so let's talk about Lovely, Dark, and Deep. It focuses on this woman who becomes a park ranger, and apparently in this national park there's lots of people that have gone missing. You find out that really she took this job to find her sister who went missing in this woods many, many years ago. And basically the whole movie is this woman walking around the woods. And I you know I got pretty bored pretty fast with it. I don't know. What's funny about this movie too is I was like, the critics really loved this movie. Like I was looking on Rotten Tomatoes, and it has like, I think like an 89% fresh critics love the movie. But then you look at the audience score, and it's like 39%. So like the average person did not see the same movie. And I kind of get why like the critics like fell in love with it, because look, it is shot beautifully. I mean, there's lots of beautiful shots of the woods and like overhead shots and tracking shots. Unfortunately, there's too many of them, and it's like, the woods is like its own character in the movie, which I guess was the point. And the acting is good. The lead actress, I don't know her name, but I think she was in that Barbarian movie, which
Georgina
I also didn't
Campbell.
like. What's her name?
Georgina Campbell.
Yeah, and she's really good in the movie. And it starts off for me like really good. Like I'm super into it. Like the music is creepy and ominous. Like the opening scene is bizarre. I'm like, what is gonna happen in this movie? You start to peel back the layers of it and kind of understand her motivation, and then it falls off the rails pretty quickly for me, where it just stopped making sense. And it stopped making sense early on in the movie, and I'm like, for an hour basically there's just a lot of just trippy things that, I guess it all comes together in the end, but for me I was just waiting for it to end. I don't know, what do you think?
I mean, for me, I have like very, very similar notes here. I said it had a great start. I mean, that ranger puts up a sign that says, I owe this land a body. And I'm like, what the hell is about to happen here? But it never quite hits like that burning point, you know? I mean, for me, at least, it didn't do it. I think there were a lot of like creepy elements, with the isolation of the woods. It was dark, ominous, lonely, creepy coworkers. Little similar to like that Blair Witch, kind of like with the vastness of just like being in isolation and complete darkness. It could have been really creepy and really scary. And for a few minutes, I think I was, but as the story unravels, it did get pretty boring pretty quick. I don't know if they developed that her character enough, which she plays Ranger Lennon in the movie. I just don't think they gave enough backstory for her, and they just kind of filled it in that last half hour, which was pretty much like a 30-minute like supernatural kind of montage that by the time you get to that point, you're just like, what is this? She's a kid now, she's an adult. What is going on? It really lost it for me. I thought it was boring, and I just didn't think the story developed enough to hold my interest.
Yeah, and there are some good scares early on, and creepy stuff. Like there's that one scene where I forget what she's doing, but there's like a tree behind her, and this woman like climbs down the tree really slow, like right behind her. And I was like, oh shit. And like, I'm glad I was paying attention, because I probably would have missed that. You probably, if you're not paying attention, you're gonna miss a lot of the scares. Like there's another one where a guy or a girl, I don't know, is like crawling like behind her tent, like really fast. And like I was like, oh shit, this is creepy. But again, like a few creepy moments don't make an interesting movie.
I thought they were going to do a lot more. I mean, her tent was just like this canvas bag. I'm like, I can't believe she's staying out in these woods by herself. And you knew that she was pretty much there by herself because they airlifted everyone into their location. So I'm like, man, this woman is by herself. It just didn't do enough with it. It was so dark and so creepy, and I don't know. It did looked great. It's probably what the critics liked. Georgina did a great job, but it's a little shocking, because I think Barbarian was a good movie for her. So For her to stick with the genre and do another film, I was like, man, this is it. But I don't know.
I'm pretty sure it's the director's first film too, and you could tell they probably had a very loose script, and maybe they didn't film the whole script for like a movie like this. And it's a mind fuck kind of movie where, you know, you can't really tell until the very end, like, is this all in Lennon's head? Is there supernatural stuff? Is the forest alive? Are there aliens? Like, I really didn't know. And when you do a movie like this that is very trippy and mind fuck kind of movie, you kind of got to save all of that stuff till the end. Like at around the 40-minute mark, and this is, I think, like an hour and 40-minute movie, that's when the reality crumbles and everything unravels. And then you're kind of stuck in this loop
Yeah.
of, just like you said, montage of just various different creepy things happening. And it's too much. Like, if maybe the last 20 minutes of the movie was like that would have been fine. Like an hour of creepy shit and like, but like a story. And then it kind of goes to this bizarre mind trip head fuck kind of thing, then I would have been fine with it. But I just started way too early where it's just too many different things. And I think like the directors probably had this idea like, oh, this would be cool. Oh, how about if we put like a dead deer in a coffin? Like, oh, like all of these ideas, but not really finding a way to make it all make sense.
Yeah, a good backstory really would have helped this film out a lot. And I do have some notes. So this was directed by Teresa Sutherland. It is her first feature. So I think she was basically doing shorts. And apparently she was the writer, one of the writers for Midnight Mass.
Is that the Netflix show? I never saw that.
Yeah, I never saw it, but it got a lot of critical acclaim. So you take this director, you take Georgina Campbell from Barbarian, and it sounds like a really good mixture of something that's going to have a positive effect, but it just didn't. I don't know. And I'm just thinking of like other movies that were like this. I kind of mentioned like Blair Witch. It's like nothing really happens in Blair Witch for like 40 minutes. And but yet it still kept your interest. And you just have to come back with something at that starting point. And I just felt like they dragged on the isolation too much without filling in the backstory. And then when it unravels, it just, I don't know. It was a lot to comprehend and trying to understand the entire story, what happened from her childhood and all the players and everything. It's too much.
Yeah, and I think how they told the story, like, you know, because they do kind of show you somewhat of her backstory in like little snippets. But to me, again, like I don't have the patience to piece that all together. Like, and I don't mind a movie that makes me think. I'm okay with that, but it just didn't make me think. I was just like, I don't really, at this point, I don't really care. And like one thing that drove me nuts, and I'm surprised you didn't mention this yet.
I, I might have that note. Go ahead.
She has a gun.
Oh God, yeah,
However,
yeah,
she
yes.
never seems to have this gun on her. Like, and like one scene very early on, so she's in bed in this creepy woods. She knows a lot of people have gone missing, so apparently there's some bad shit that's happening, whether it's a killer or whatever. And someone's banging on her door at like midnight or 2 in the mornings, and it's a guy screaming for her to open the door. And what does she do? Opens the door, doesn't get the gun, just answers the door. And then the guy like runs off. And instead of going back and getting the gun, she just goes out after him. And also, she doesn't even put on shoes. She's barefoot walking, running through the woods after this guy who seemed crazy and aggressive. It's pitch black. Get your fucking gun.
Just do something. You're out there by yourself. It was she for a park ranger. She was horrible. I give her a 0 in that field. She went out with batteries that were dying. She didn't carry her gun. I told you she was staying in a canvas house. Like I'm surprised that door didn't just fall off the hinges because the house was made out of paper. You know what? I was hoping something was gonna happen to her, honestly, because I'm like, at least something will happen in this film if things don't go right for her, but nothing really happens to her either.
And do park rangers carry guns? Like, I don't know much about park rangers. I would assume they don't, but like maybe you got to shoot a bear.
I mean, there's wildlife. I mean, there's four-legged and two-legged predators out there, so you need to definitely carry some sort of firearm. Especially this is like a national park. It's huge.
Yeah, and
But
what a job. She's literally like drop her off in the middle of the woods, and I think she has to stay there for like the whole summer.
yeah, what does
Yeah,
that
exactly. What'd
pay?
you say? What does that pay?
Was that pay? Like to
Not
make you want
enough,
to do that?
And there's no TV. I don't think she has internet. Like you're just kind of she had some books and they would look pretty boring books. Another scene that really I was like, what the fuck? Like, and again, I get like you get in a situation and shit happens. She's out like in the darkness in the woods, and there's some kind of like ruckus or something's chasing or something's happening, and she goes inside her tent and like hides in the tent. Like to me, like you're a sitting duck in this tent. And I get in the tent, the gun was in the tent. I get that, although she doesn't really use the gun, but like would you like hide in that tent or would you be safer like out?
It's the only place. That is literally the only place you're gonna look for
And you can't see
someone.
who's coming. You're in the
It's like
tent. Like so to me I was like what are you doing, lady? Like I don't know. I was really confused. So like talking about movies, and I think one thing you said was like how this reminded you of Blair Witch, except like even though nothing happens in Blair Witch for the first like hour 20 minutes probably. I don't know. I'm not a big fan of that movie. But you get invested in it, and I think that helped because you had multiple different characters and you could see the people here you just have one woman who's not overly interesting because you don't really know anything about her other than she's has a missing sister or something like that. So you don't really get to know anything about her. And I think the movie would have helped if, I don't know, if she's not going to interact with other characters, like I'm fine with it just being her, like getting to know a little bit more about her personality somehow, to kind of really make you identify with her or like her or care. And to me, like, you stick with this movie because you want to unravel the mystery, but to me, like, I don't know, I need a little bit more. And so movies that this reminded me of, I wrote two notes, and the first one I crossed out. At first, I was like, "Oh, this reminds me of Midsummer." Just I don't know why, just the trippy feeling of it, the way it was shot, and I love that movie. And this again is not that movie. And the other one that it reminded me of was a movie I saw a long time ago that I don't remember really well, and I kind of think I was split on it. Was this movie Yellow Brick Road? That is basically a bunch of people wandering in the woods and a bunch of trippy shit happens. So I need to rewatch that movie, but this kind of I was like, oh, this reminds me of that, but I haven't seen that in a long time. So and the other thing about this movie too is the ending, which I did not understand. And if you did understand it, please spoil it because I was confused. And I think it's also because I just wasn't paying as heavy attention in the last 20 minutes because by that point I was kind of checked out, but I didn't really get what happened.
I feel like we had the same exact experience after about 20-25 minutes of this supernatural kind of flashback loop thing that was going on. Like I was just like, all right, what's the point of this? What's the conclusion? Didn't really care like when it ended. So yeah, I think I was pretty checked out too at that moment. So I didn't really get the ending. I'm thinking about like kind of like what you said here, where it's like, there wasn't like much dialogue. You weren't really invested in this character. There were opportunities, there were other characters in this film. She had coworkers that were around. She does meet up with one for a little bit, and they do have a conversation. I just feel like they could have filled in her story a lot more to really just get you invested in her if she's the main character of like a 3 or 4 character movie. So they didn't do that. So I'm sorry. I didn't care, and I'll never watch it again to try to comprehend the ending.
Yeah, and even if like I could see like maybe budgetary reasons they couldn't have her interact with too many characters for long periods of time, but she could have just been on the walkie-talkie talking to people. Like there could have been anything, or
Something.
I mean, I don't know if they actually had internet or she had a cell phone. I have no idea, but they could have found ways for her to interact, and so you could get to know her, or even just again like I get her sole mission was figuring out her sister, but there could have been other just hints of her personality because she is pretty boring. Like you don't, again, she could have had another book there that was like, I don't know, a book that's like, oh, this is the kind of book that she would like, or she could have played some kind of music or something where,
Something.
and they just did not do that. And again, I think, director's first film, I mean, they were very blessed with an amazing cinematographer. I believe they shot this in Portugal, if I remember. Yeah, that's what the IMDb says. And I read a review that said Paraguay, um, but IMDb says Portugal. So I was wondering where they shot this. But yeah, so again, beautiful looking movie. I really, really wanted to like it. I really did. I couldn't really get into it. Let's see. Do I have any other notes? I mean, the only other note was, you make a movie about guilt and trauma and some really heavy kind of subjects, and it didn't really go there for me. Yeah, I don't know. It just needed more character development. And there's some good scares, some good imagery, but it goes off the rails, and it goes off the rails early on in the movie. And again, I think they should have just saved all of the mind trippy stuff for like the last act instead of just giving you it to you early. Because yeah, this was a missed opportunity, and unfortunately, I didn't like this movie.
Yeah, I just don't know what kind of notes you could take when literally like really nothing happens. It's someone walking in the dark. It's someone walking in the woods. There are many scenes of her just walking around trying to find clues to her missing sister, and it's like she doesn't find anything. So like, what are we doing? It's like,
It's funny. I did take a lot of notes on this early on in the movie, and they're all like positive things. And then after again, like the first 20 minutes, I started crossing them off because I was like, you know what, I'm not going to talk about that. Like that's actually not true. And so like I started off like liking it. So yeah, I guess before we move on, like we got to talk bloody knives. And usually I ask you how many bloody knives first. This time you're going to ask me, and there's a reason.
okay.
You don't know this, but I'm going to hit you with a drinking game.
Oh no.
And
There's a
there are two
drinking
parts.
game.
There's a drinking game to our podcast here, and if you're at home, you can play along.
Oh
And how you could play
shit.
along is you could either choose your fighter, either myself or Jerry, or you could choose both of us if you really want to get fucked up. And there are two parts to this drinking game. I'm going to tell you the first part now, and I'll tell you the second part later. The first part is whatever number of bloody knives I pick, that's the number of seconds you need to drink for.
Damn.
So if I say 5, you need to drink for 5 seconds, and 5 legit seconds, not like 1, 2, 3, or 5. So you gotta hope that the movies we pick I don't like, or you're gonna get fucked up. So you ready? Do you have enough? Because
I do. I feel pretty confident with this one given the conversation that we just had. Rich, how many bloody knives do you give this film?
so I went back and forth on this, and I'm gonna stick with my original assessment, and that is 2 bloody knives.
Shocking.
And yeah, it's funny because at first I was like, holy shit, did I really rate Night Swim higher? And I think I gave that 2.5. And then I'm like, this is a better, quote unquote, better movie than Night Swim. However, I would probably watch Night Swim again. Like if I was on a date and someone was over my house and they wanted to like watch a movie and they said put on Night Swim, I would probably say, you know what, I could tolerate this movie again and laugh at it. This movie I never want to see ever again, and I have no interest. So it is a, while it's a better looking, probably better crafted movie than Night Swim, I would say I liked Night Swim better. So I'm giving it a 2. So that's
All
2
right.
seconds
Well,
you need to drink for. So
any listeners, get your glasses up because I'm about to do it. Here we go. Cheers. Ooh.
that's a good 2 seconds. All right. That was
Damn.
legit.
Wow.
That was not a
Man,
baby sip.
that was some good fucking bourbon too.
All right, now I'm going to ask you, and I again feel confident that I am not going to get that fucked up this episode. So, scale of 0 to 5, number of bloody knives.
You made a compelling point. My bloody knives are weighted on whether or not I would watch the film again. So yes, it was a good film. Yes, there was good acting and there was lots of good scenic shots and there were things that were good. But would I watch the film again? And the answer is no, I would not watch this film again. So because of that, it's not a 1. I mean, I've seen some really, really bad movies in my life. So I have to give it a 2 as well.
Okay, I can handle 2 seconds. I think, yep, I'm good. All right, ready? Here we go. Cheers.
Cheers. Ooh, man, that level's dripping right there. Bam.
All right.
Damn.
And we have 2 more movies to talk about. We're going to talk
We do?
about we're going to talk about Ty West, but we're going to go more in depth on House of the Devil and X.
I like those movies better. Damn.
I know you're fucked. You're fucked. And so the first episode we talked about Eli Roth. Second episode we talked about Rob Zombie. This episode we're going to talk about Ty West now for the remaining however long we decide to talk for. And I think this will be interesting because I believe you are a bigger fan than I am of Ty West. And that's not to say I don't enjoy his films, because I do like his films. When we do a lightning round, I'll probably give more thumbs up than more thumbs down. However, I wouldn't say I'm a fan of his, and like I'll be honest, I'm not overly excited about Maxxxine. Like I will watch it and maybe I'll like it, maybe I won't, but like I don't need to see it. I feel like I got enough out of X and Pearl that I'm good. I don't know. Are you excited about Maxxxine? Are you gonna go to theaters to see it? Are you gonna wait? Like, what's your deal?
So it's really dependent on what Maxine is. So I don't want to give too much away on X just yet, but I had very different feelings about X than I did about Pearl. So depending on what Maxine, how it's going to live in that storyline, what kind of movie it's going to be, is really going to be dependent on whether or not I actually go to the theater to watch. I'll just say I didn't like Pearl. So if it's more like X, I'll be there.
I mean, you would think that it would be, right? Since it's kind of taking place after X. Although again, you don't know. And I think one thing I'll give Ty West credit for is I kind of feel like every film he does is very different than the previous one. He's always doing something very new and I don't know, fresh is the right word, but he is unpredictable and I don't know. And I think there's a teaser for Maxine. I haven't watched it, so I don't really know anything about it other than it follows Mia Goth again. Assuming after, she's murdered a bunch of people. So I don't really know what to expect.
I think the issue with Pearl was Mia Goth's influence on that movie that I don't think she had in X. So to me, it was just very, very different films. And I mean, I don't know which one you want to talk about first.
Yeah, well, first I think we should probably do our lightning round, and I have thoughts on Pearl because I rewatched it, and I definitely want to get into some of that. But let's do the lightning round of Ty West films first to kind of like set the tone and kind of develop the conversation from there. And usually I ask you, oh, you ask me first. I am going to let you ask me first because there is a second part of this horror heads drinking game,
What?
and you don't know this because I'm going to surprise you with this. And how this part of it works is the number of, when we do a director or something like this, the number of thumbs down I give, that's the number of seconds you need to drink.
Wow. Okay, man, you're really pulling out all the stops tonight.
And I went back and forth. I was like, should it be like the number of thumbs up I give? But I think like since we do talk a lot of shit, like I think we're gonna probably more often than not pick a lot of things that have no's. So let's see. Let's see how this ends up working out, right? And I think we'll probably play the same game whether it's like a director or I don't know, something else. But
I'm totally into this. Don't let my reservation because it's a Monday night deter you from doing this because
too late.
I think by the time we get to X, I'm not going to care anymore. So.
Oh yeah, that's going to be bad.
Yeah,
I'm scared. I'm scared of you giving House of Devil and X 5 bloody knives, and I just fall on the floor. But we'll see what happens. Maybe you won't. I don't know. So
no spoilers.
All right. So go ahead.
So I'm going to start with I'm going to work my way up and from his earliest to his latest. I think that will be the way to go.
Okay, keep in mind I probably am not overly familiar with some of the films.
All right, I'm just going to say them, and if you didn't see it, we'll just count that as a thumbs down.
No, we can count that. That's a flat. I think if I didn't see it, I don't have an opinion. Yeah, like that's not fair to make someone get fucked up if I haven't seen a movie.
Alrighty, so we got The Roost.
Haven't seen it.
House of the Devil.
Thumbs up.
Cabin Fever 2.
Wait, he did Cabin Fever 2?
That's what it says here. Yeah.
You know what? I haven't seen it. He directed that? Really?
That's what it says.
Shit.
Let's see.
I never knew that.
Let me confirm here. I clicked on the thing that says directed by 3 times. I can't get to it, but yeah.
Let's just pretend he did. Right? Yeah, I haven't seen it.
Yeah. Okay. The Innkeepers.
Pending on the watch, the last time I watched it, I would give it a thumbs up. The time before that, I would have given it a thumbs down. I think it's a movie that I got to be in the mood for, but for this purpose, since I just rewatched it, I'm going to give it a thumbs up.
Nice. VHS.
Found footage, thumbs down. What did he do VHS? I don't even remember.
When?
I don't know.
He just did a short.
Okay.
So it's like 2000.
Which was the short? Was it the very first one in the very first VHS?
I'm looking at my phone. It's very limited.
So, all right, let's just.
That's it. I'm looking at pictures. That's it.
Yeah, I don't know what I can't. Yeah, all right, fuck it. I'm gonna say thumbs down because I don't like anything found footage. So.
Okay, all right. The ABCs of Death.
All right, we're not going to count these because that's I don't even remember which one he did on that. Let's stick with features on this one. Out of the 26 shorts in each ABCs of Death, I would say probably 3 are decent, and the other 23 are just fucking miserable. Okay, so let's just stick with features. So far, I got two thumbs up so far. House of the Devil and Innkeeper. So you're not drinking yet.
The Sacrament.
Thumbs down.
Okay. This is a Western, in a Valley of Violence.
So I saw it and I think I liked it, but I don't remember. So I'm gonna just say no opinion.
X.
Thumbs up.
Pearl.
Thumbs down.
Okay.
Is that it?
Yes, that is all I have here.
So I'm gonna say that's 2 thumbs down, and I'm gonna throw in another thumbs down for the various ABCs and VHS. That's 3 seconds you got to drink. So
damn. Okay.
whenever you're ready. Damn, you're gonna need to re-pour.
Oh man. Wow. Okay, this is getting tough, man.
That's how we do it. That's how we do it here. All right, everybody at home, get ready because wait, I'm asking you. Okay, so I think they're gonna mostly be thumbs up, so I'm not too worried. But we'll see. And I'm gonna skip the shorts. The Roost.
Liked it. Thumbs up.
House of the Devil.
Thumbs up.
Innkeepers.
Thumbs up.
Sacrament.
Thumbs down.
Oh, really? Interesting. I'm curious to talk about that. I don't remember the movie that well, but I'm curious to know what you didn't like about it. I might be going out of order. Oh, In a Valley of Violence.
I liked it.
X.
Thumbs up.
And Pearl, I know, is thumbs down for you.
Thumbs down.
Yeah. Did I miss anything?
Nope.
That's everything,
Nope.
right?
Just
okay,
two,
so
two thumbs down.
All right, I could do that.
Nice.
All right.
All right, now we got to talk about some movies.
I'm getting buzzed. Okay, so like first off, I'm going to talk about Pearl really quick and how I feel about that film, and then I'll get your thoughts, and I imagine your thoughts probably mirror mine. The first time I watched it, I definitely did not like it. The second time when I watched it the other day, I liked it more. However, I still do not like it. And there's a couple things I do like. First off, I'll just talk about Ty West in general. All of his films are slow fucking burn.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Like they all take a long time to get anywhere. Doesn't mean they're not interesting, because I think for the most part they're interesting. However, like most of them you are 45 minutes to an hour before anything happens. So you got to strap in and sit and just stick with it, because and Pearl is kind of no different. And so what I liked about Pearl, and then I'll get into what I didn't like. Number one is, I actually read this and I didn't know this, is he originally wanted to make it black and white, which I don't think would have been as good. And the A24 said, hell no, we're not doing a black and white horror movie, even though they did The Lighthouse in black and white. Maybe that bombed, and they said, yeah, maybe that bombed, and they said, we're not doing that again. So he said, okay, instead, I'm going to make this vividly colorful where the colors pop. It's beautiful, and it looks like nothing I've ever really seen before. And it reminds me of like an old, like a Wizard of Oz or something like really old from like the 30s, or something that was colorized where the colors were barely saturated. And I liked that. And I think the way the movie starts is it does feel like you're watching an old Hollywood movie, which I thought was very different and didn't like. Which I thought was really different, and I liked that. What I didn't like is, I guess let's get into the plot. So the plot of Pearl is, there's this young girl, Pearl, and I can't even really tell how old she is, because she might be kind of mentally challenged. Like I couldn't tell if she's supposed to be 13. Is she like older? I don't really know. Hoping she's a little older, although the movie does take place, I think, in 1918. So it's towards the end of World War One. It's in the middle of the Spanish flu epidemic, which is interesting because he wrote it during a 2-week quarantine during COVID. So I thought that was pretty cool. So anyway, so there's this woman, Pearl. She lives with her domineering German mother and father, who has suffered from, I guess, the flu and is basically catatonic. And Pearl wants to be an actress, and she wants to get away, and basically goes insane and goes on a murderous rampage. And what I didn't like is, I know people love Mia Goth and she goes for it. I'm not a fan, to be honest with you. Like, I didn't think her acting was that incredible. Again, this is my opinion. Like, a lot of people love it. And whenever I talk to females about this movie, they tend to like this movie a lot. and identify with this movie. And I can understand that. But for me as a guy, like I just didn't really, I wasn't into it. What I really didn't like about this movie is the last half hour. And that 7.5 minute monologue, I just wanted to leave the room and turn it off. And I think the first time I watched it, I think I did leave the room and came back and I'm like, and she's still talking. And like, I get like, and the unfortunate thing about this monologue is it's repetitive. It's like the same thing over and over again. And it was just not, it goes nowhere. And I get the feeling that this movie was basically made to give Mia Goth the opportunity to act, I guess, and do a 7.5 minute monologue and do all these other things. And it the movie is like to that point, I think is like, okay, I'm into this. She's crazy, like a bunch of shit happens, and it just slows to a crawl, and you're just like, God, can this just end?
I mean, I just don't think anything happens in the film that was of interest. I didn't really care about the the Pearl character. I didn't really understand her drive to, I didn't, maybe just didn't believe it, or her authenticity. There was this something off about the character I didn't really care for. I thought the acting from Mia Goth was decent enough, but honestly, I just felt like she wrote like all her own lines to kind of, just like you said, to kind of highlight some sort of like elevated acting skill. I don't know if she's there yet. It was boring, and when she killed someone, it's like I didn't care. Like, who cares? It was just so slow. Even the kill sucked. It was just so slow and boring. To call it, I don't know, a horror film, and to be a part of this trilogy and the Ty West canon, I don't know. I don't agree with it. I think they were trying really hard to push the dialogue, just like you said, which I do want to talk about, like that mumblecore movement that Ty West is a part of, which
Can you explain
is,
what that is?
yeah,
I know,
sure.
but like just to see what
Yeah,
your
absolutely.
take on
So
it is.
yeah, so anyone who don't know, it's a group of like these young millennial film directors, and basically they all work together, and they kind of like to kind of work within their low budgets. They focus more on like heavy dialogue and story versus like action and effects. So the easiest way to think about a mumblecore film would be like the movie Clerks. That would be like the easiest way to do it, because if you watch Clerks, or anyone who's ever seen it before, what happens in the film? Nothing. It's these two guys that are sitting in like a convenience store, and they talk, and they tell interesting stories, and that's what keeps you engaged. But nothing really happens, like occasionally like another person will walk in and they'll add like a little bit to the story, or maybe they'll walk outside, but nothing extreme happens. And I think that's like kind of like the essence of mumblecore. And there's a lot of films that are like that. Like Innkeepers is like that, um and all those guys, they work together. So Ty West, Joe Swansburg, AJ Bowen, Simon Barrett, they all help out, whether they're acting, producing, directing, whatever they could do to kind of help each other out there. It's like the same crew trying to push this type of film. And I think for the most part, they do it well. And the first thing you said is all of Ty West's films are slow burns. And that's another way to think about it. It's a slow burn, and you just gotta hope like the payoff actually pays off. And for the most part, I think they do. For me, man, Pearl was a slow burn. And it
A
went,
slow
it
burn that
fizzled,
never
it
never
fit,
lights up.
it fizzled out, and it never burnt. It never burnt, and I don't care. So, and I'm surprised you watched it twice. I will be the first to admit I only watched it once. I don't see myself watching it again, and that's why I'm a little bit nervous about Maxxine.
Yeah, and like it's funny how you mentioned Clerks because it just jogged a memory of when I saw Clerks for the first time, and I'm not a fan of Clerks. I'm not a fan of Kevin Smith in general. I liked Mallrats. I'll give him Mallrats,
Mallrats
but
is
the other
amazing.
films, yeah, the other films I did not like. And I remember watching Clerks for the first time in your bedroom with a friend of ours, Eric, And why I didn't like Clerks was he didn't shut the fuck up throughout the entire movie and like would say the lines before they happened, and it just drove me insane. But he knew the whole thing apparently, and just kept doing it. And I'm like, dude, like I'd never seen this movie before. Like, please, can you shut the fuck up so I can like actually get the jokes before, because their delivery is better than yours. And I remember I was like, you know what? I hate this movie. I'm never gonna watch this movie again. I don't think I did watch it again, actually.
I am really disappointed now. So Eric, if you're out there, you ruined a great classic movie for someone that they can never watch for the rest of their goddamn life, and it's your fault. And you should be ashamed.
I think of it every time.
Yeah, you should be ashamed of yourself. This guy's missing out on a cult classic film that he could be enjoying in his own house, but he can't because you ruined it.
He completely ruined it for me. And I think I tried to watch Clerks 2 or Clerks 3 actually pretty recently, and I didn't get very far. And again, I get by now the magic is gone with that movie.
Yeah, definitely.
It's what were you talking about? We were talking about Pearl.
We're just talking about that it was a slow burn, and it's very similar with the heavy dialogue and all that.
Yeah. There was something I had like a point that I was going to talk about Pearl, but yeah, I mean, why I watched it the second time? Why I watched the second time is because the first time I did not like it, and then again, I had a lot of people, females, who loved the movie. I like on a few sets, films I had, like the actresses, like all they talked about was like Pearl, because I remember I was shooting a movie. I think I was shooting my Felines movie right when Pearl came out, and it was all they wanted to talk about. And I was like, really? And it's funny, they hated X,
what
loved
did they
Pearl.
talk about? Like what did they say?
They loved her acting, and they felt that this movie, and I've seen this in reviews and stuff like that. It's like the female version of the Joaquin Phoenix Joker movie. It's like this woman's kind of descent into madness, and some of the things that she goes through, even though it's like almost comical to me in Pearl, are, I guess, things that some females might go to. And I guess they felt empowered by her kind of taking things into her own hands. And so I'm like, you know, I'm gonna give this movie another chance, and I'm gonna even sit through this monologue, which I did not sit through the first time. And so there is a couple of things I did like also about the movie. I thought it was like, even though there weren't that many kills in the movie, it was kind of brutal. Like the scene where she basically lights her mother on fire and then dumps like boiling water on her, and then like locks her in the basement, like doesn't even kill her, like leaves her just to suffer for days. I thought that was really fucked up. And I was like, wow, this is a really dark character, which again, you don't see as much really dark female characters, and I appreciate that. So again, like for me, I don't like this movie. I don't think I'll watch it again. There are things I do enjoy about it, and I like it more than I did the first time I watched it. I think because the first time I watched it, I was expecting X2, and this is not X2. This is a completely different movie.
Yeah.
Again, it fits in the universe. There are a lot of throwbacks. Like she's wearing the same overalls that Maxxxine wore in X, and there's like other things in it, like the gator, and there's all stuff. But like, it's a completely different movie, and it's his own thing, which means like I don't need to watch it again, because it's even like I don't need to watch like Maxxxine. My thoughts probably has nothing to do with Pearl, right? Because it's all like way before all that. So it's not like a necessary movie to watch if you want to enjoy the trilogy. But again, is it like it's not the worst movie I've ever seen. It's like maybe I'll watch again and turn it off at the 45-minute mark if I ever try to watch it again, or I'll just fast forward through the monologue. 7.5 minutes. Like what is this? This isn't Hamlet. It's like, why is she talking for that long? Like I don't. Again, like we both said,
it certainly wasn't like, Hamlet.
No, it's again Mia Goth's, like it's for her real basically, and to show that I am a real actress and I can do this, even though I'm doing these like I hate to even say low budget, because again this did cost like $1.5 million, which I get is low, but it's not like this costs nothing. So yeah, so that's my thoughts on Pearl. I mean, anything more to kind of talk about that?
No, I'm ready to move on because I didn't like it. So
all right, let's move on to X, which is kind of like one of the movies we're spotlighting. We'll talk about some of the other ones too. We'll get into Innkeepers, but I want to talk about X to kind of pivot. So I gave the plot of Pearl. Like, why don't you give the plot of X for those who have not seen it or are not familiar with it?
Sure. Basically, it's a group of young 20-somethings that are traveling into the deep South, basically Bible country, and they're going to make an adult film. So I think that was pretty interesting in itself because it's kind of like a nod to like that grindhouse kind of exploitation film. The film is set in 1979, so there's a lot of like nostalgia there, a lot of throwbacks, a lot of cool things. So basically, this group rents a home of this older couple, and that's where they're going to film this porno. And as they get to the house and they start unloading, of course, we're introduced to the older couple. And right from that second,
Just to cut you off there, when you say older couple, like my mind goes to like, oh, they're like 50 years old. No, this is an older couple. They got to be what, like 85, 90. Like they're old. I don't know how old they
I
are,
would
but they're
say
old.
like they're good 70s, I would say.
If I'm that if I'm that old when I'm 70, man, I don't know because they could barely move. They were
I do want to say I remember hearing about this film and hearing that it was a Ty West film, and I know we're constantly going back to this in in this podcast, but like during the pandemic, it was like not a lot was going on, so you got excited over like little things, and this was going to be like one of like those first real horror films that was going to be released in the theaters post pandemic. Sign me up. I want to be there. I don't know what happened. I couldn't get to the theater and I ended up watching it at home. And yeah, I was still very excited by it, but I do feel like my experience would have been a lot different. And I might have maybe a different view if I actually saw it in the theater. To me, I really thought it was going to be a real throwback to like that classic 1984, 85 slasher film. That's what I was getting hyped about.
Yeah, and I think there is like again, it feels early on like this is going to be kind of like a Texas Chainsaw movie, and it's not. It's not that movie. But getting back to the plot, so okay, they rent this like farmhouse to shoot a porno. There's this old couple. What happens after that? Like obviously it's not going to work out well, but I give a little more, I guess, context into like what like who is this Pearl character who we just talked about like 20 minutes about?
Yeah, so Pearl is I guess she was like an ex beauty queen, and she had this fantastic younger life, and now we're seeing her the much older version of herself, and she's married to this extremely old man, and they seem pretty conservative, and the man's kind of sickly and maybe not satisfying all of Pearl's needs. So
He's not
um
laying the pipe, is what you're
no,
saying.
he's definitely not. He always has an excuse, always coming up with something. But basically, one night, Pearl is stumbling out and she sees what these kids are up to, and they're filming some porno there, and I think that gets her a little hot. And it kind of flips a switch with her. It makes her kind of want to relive that youth, but she is stuck in this elderly woman's body. And I would say all hell breaks loose after that. So we could get into those areas. But yeah, that's really like the well, what's going on with Pearl. I mean, she's hanging out in a night dress and just creeping around the fields.
Yeah, and she gets obsessed with the Maxine character, who is played by Mia Goth, and Pearl in this movie, the older woman, is also played by Mia Goth, so she's doing dual roles. And again, she becomes obsessed with her, and I'm assuming it's because she reminds her of herself when she was young and beautiful, and before kind of life kind of happened to her, and she ended up stuck in this kind of rut. For whatever reason, turns murderous. And I guess if you watch Pearl, like she was always a crazy murderer. In this movie, like it just happens. Like there's no real they don't really show that like oh she was this crazy older person, although you do get a kind of glimpse, I think, in the when they lock Jenna Ortega in the basement. There's another body there, so I guess you get the feeling that they've been kind of doing some shit over there. But yeah, I mean, it was an interesting movie. How I guess the only movie I could think about that had like an older, quote unquote, older killer would be Don't Breathe, and even he was still kind of like in shape. Like these are, and I don't want to be offensive, but like geriatric, like older people, like they're moving slow. They could barely do anything. Like the guy has like a heart condition where he can't even like fuck. She again is just kind of creeping around. So I've never seen killers like this before. So I give Ty West credit for doing something completely different. What I have a hard time with in this movie is he also does something that I've never seen before, and that is seeing older people like this engaging in sexual
Oh my
activity.
God.
And
Mm.
he does so in a way that it's excessive in my opinion. And I think like the scene where Pearl and her husband finally do make love, even if they were younger, I still think that scene went on too long. It was like too much of that overshot of the guy's butt as he's plowing into her. And I was like, okay, you showed it, like I get it. And they just kept showing it and showing it and showing it. And, at one point, Pearl, who's Mia Goth in old person makeup, gets naked and gets into bed with a
Yeah.
naked young Mia Goth. And normally, again, Mia Goth naked with the Mia Goth would be great, except it was disgusting. And maybe it was supposed to be. I don't know if it was supposed to be disgusting or empowering, but it's hard to watch at points, man. And like even I rewatched it and I'm like dreading those scenes. I'm like, oh no, this is it. This is gonna be the scene. This is gonna be the scene. And I think if I would have saw this in the theater, I would have been like aghast. I would have been like, like what the fuck? And look, I'll give him credit for doing something I'd never seen before, but I also kind of like take away that credit because these are things I can't unsee.
I mean, I think he opens up to let you know like there's something different going on in this film because like when they first start filming that porno, I mean that's that first sex scene was kind of it was kind of graphic. I mean, she's cleaning up after this, and that's something that you would normally never see. I mean, that's almost like NC-17 level right there. So right then you're just like, this guy is showing something different.
Yeah, this is the only American movie I think where I've seen semen. Maybe I'm wrong. The only other movie I could think of where I've seen semen was Itchy the Killer and probably some French movies. I don't think I've ever seen it in an American movie. So he's pushing boundaries, and I respect that.
Pushing that, like a couple seconds later, that's when Maxxine's, doing a little strip and dip and going, kind of like jumping into that lake, and we see her overalls for the first time. And I just want to say, like last Halloween, my Facebook feed and my Instagram feed was just completely filled with every single woman on earth basically dressing up in those overalls
Oh,
and
nice.
and being and
I
I'm
need
not
to follow who
complaining.
you're
I'm not, yeah,
following.
I'm not complaining. Like it was a good look, but I mean, he kept pushing like the nudity nonstop. So you felt like that was going to be a theme that ran throughout the film. I'm gonna say the first time I did watch it. I did watch it at home. I watched it with my wife, and it was a bit shocking because we both are just like, what the hell are we looking at here? The second time, and I'm gonna tell you why I liked this movie, and I remember what I said to my wife that first time I saw it. I was like, man, I really like that film, but I just don't think I want to watch it again because of those old people. And I mean, I don't want to sound terrible, but they just pushed those limits on being uncomfortable and being cringy and just like general ick. That's the only way. Like
Yeah.
you feel gross, like kind of like watching what's happening. And this time I'm not doing it. So I just fast forward it, to be honest with you, because I'm like, what am I doing to myself here? I'm like, no podcast is worth this shit. So
Yeah, not till we get like more viewers. Like once we get like enough listens, then we'll watch it. You know, it's funny because I remember when I first saw this movie, and you saw it before me. And what I texted you was, yeah, I liked it. Yeah, it was good. I will never watch this movie again. And you know what? Like, and again, rewatching, I'm glad I watched it again. But I always remember being like, I don't ever need to see that again. And talking about like, there is also a lot of nudity with beautiful women in it too. Like, there's a lot of that. And I'm going to say something about the nudity in the movie. And just to preface this, like, I will never say there's too much nudity in a movie. I will never say it needs to be tasteful. Like, I don't give a shit. Like, I love nudity. Just do it. I know a lot of critics and podcasters are going to be like, oh, it's got to blah, blah, blah. I don't care. I enjoy it. I'm happy to have it in the movie. I really liked how they did the nudity here because a lot of it, not all of it, but a lot of it they did kind of like from the camera of them actually shooting the porno, and it was done with this like 16 millimeter or whatever that was, and it looked almost like a 70s or 80s porno would look, and I thought that was really cool. And I feel like that kind of, and there's a lot of sex and nudity in this movie. It almost made it not as in your face because they did it in a very like different artistic way, which I thought was really cool. Like I haven't really seen that before. And again, we got to see the porno that they were making. Like I thought that was pretty cool.
I mean, you mentioned when Lorraine was locked in the basement and there was a body in there. That body was naked, and you saw some penis in that from that guy hanging. And then you see Kid Cudi. You see Kid Cudi
Kid
right
Cudi hanging
after.
dong in the
Yeah, I
doorway.
mean, and I think that's the first time I ever seen like back to back dick in a film before. So
Should we drink to that? Back to
yeah,
back dick. I'm gonna cheers
I
you on
never
that one.
cheers. I never saw that before. And wait. Right after that is when Pearl gets naked and
Ugh.
into the bed with the Maxxine character. So it was literally, and this is Ty West pushing your buttons. It was like 5 minutes where you just like you felt horrible, like oh my, what am I looking at? It's like dick nudie, like you just felt like what's happening right now? It's like it was just like an overload of like all these things that you never really would imagine to see in a horror film, or at least a horror film like this that felt like it was going to be like a Texas or some sort of slasher. But it was just, he was kind of like knocking on like that body horror kind of like aspect where you kind of want to look away at times, but you can't, but it's gross and you're like, oh man, that's, oh, what am I watching? And he did that to you like over and over and over again. And I think it'd be great to talk about some of his kills, because I think he really pushed some of the, some of those buttons there.
Yeah, we'll get to the kills, but I do want to talk about Kid Cudi's dong a little bit
You do?
more.
That's what
If
you
that's
want.
okay.
That's what you want to talk about right now.
No, yeah. So like for me,
Should we
like,
pause the podcast and just talk about Kid Cudi for a few minutes amongst ourselves?
Like I said that we're not going to make it to episode 10, but so like for me in general, like whenever I see like a dick in a movie, it's usually is funny. Like I don't know why, I just kind of laugh. But this was really funny. So like the scene to set it up is this really old guy who's probably I believe is a racist because he's old and just like whatever, and is not into what these kids are doing here. And he's looking for his wife who's wandering around the woods or some shit like that. And he knocks on the door, and Kid Cudi answers the door completely naked with this ginormous dong just hanging like ridiculously long. Like I don't know, I need to get the ruler out and kind of see what that is. But he's just standing there just hanging dong like while he's talking to this old guy who's like upset about his lost wife. And like, can you imagine, like he's traumatized, like, oh my god, my wife could be dead, blah blah blah. And here's Kid Cudi's like massive fucking long. I fucking laugh every time I see that, so I just had to address that. The movie's worth seeing just for that scene. I think that's just brilliant.
Now, what I want to do is DM Kid Cudi and see if he had a dick double, or if he
That's a
was just
prosthetic.
chilling. If he
I'm
was just
sorry.
chilling.
That's got to be a prosthetic. I mean, maybe he's packing. I don't know, but that was aggressive. Like that was like alligator dong. Or I don't know. Speaking of alligator dong, like one thing this movie has, if you
Oh my
want to talk
God.
about the kills instead of dicks, like we can talk about the kills. I have never seen in a movie that was not about an alligator killing somebody, and that was super fucking cool. So he did that. There's an alligator kill.
The whole setup. I mean, apparently Pearl has a pet alligator that she feeds and comes when you basically call him. But what I thought was so cool about that kill is because one, you're introduced to that alligator pretty early when Maxxine is skinny dipping, and you just kind of see like, oh, there's an alligator in those waters. But as soon as Bobby Lynn, I think is her name, the character is kind of making her way out into the dock, you're like, oh no. And all of a sudden you see that water moving. But I think what the coolest thing is when that thing like dives out of the water and grabs her. I feel like they cranked the volume up so high on those effects that you just hear like those teeth crunching, and it's just like it's like someone's eating like brand cereal. It's like crunch, crunch, crunch. But no, that's Bobby Lynn, and that's an alligator, and it was so brutal. And you know what? You just throw your hands up like, I've never seen that before. And again, he did it. He introduced so many different things in this film that you probably wouldn't have guessed. And everything it was like super quick, so it's like glimpses, you know. So you do see the alligator, you do see a grabber, but it's a split second, but it has an impact, and it was so brutal. And I probably rewound it a few times because it was sick.
But yeah, speaking about the kills, and like, look, this is a horror movie. The first kill does not happen until like the hour mark.
Yeah, it's
So
RJ. Yeah.
the first hour of this movie is just basically them shooting porn and some character development. And it's good character development. You do get to know each one of these people. And unlike a lot of other horror movies where you just hate everybody and want to see them die, I didn't necessarily feel that way. Like there was not like they didn't have the typical character tropes that you see in a movie like this. Like they all were kind of unique and individual. And like it wasn't like, oh my God, that guy's so annoying, I want to die. Like I would say the only one who I could see like wanting to maybe die was RJ, the independent filmmaker. But I thought he was really funny because here they are trying to make smut basically, and no one cares. And he's like, I'm gonna make this French artistic. Like I feel like he's probably like Ty West, like his vision of himself, right? Like I'm making these like horror whatever movies, but I'm trying to do it like as an auteur, like myself. But I thought that was really like, and he was, I seeing him die. But what I thought was funny about that first kill was, he is upset about he's Jenna Ortega's boyfriend, and he's upset about some choices that she made regarding this adult film, and he's going to leave and sees Pearl, this old woman, just standing there, and they have a moment together where she's like holding on to him in like a romantic way. Why doesn't he just like pull away? Like maybe he's just felt bad for her or terrified, but I kind of feel like he was standing there with her a little too long. Like maybe he kind of was attracted to her. I don't know. It was weird. It was odd.
I mean, when you see what happens to him, I'm thinking that, maybe I just would have hit it, just to, I mean, she was kind of begging, and
Oh God,
man,
I'm gonna
if
throw
if
up.
he if he only knew if he only knew what was coming his way, I mean, maybe he should just went for it. I mean, that kill was brutal. She just starts like slashing up his neck. And do you remember at one point, just the film goes red? So
Yes.
so
Yeah.
it's no longer the blood just spraying everywhere. It's like literally a red lens goes over the film and everything is red. The trees are red, the headlights are red, they're red. It's just blood everywhere. I was like, damn, that is a kill. I mean,
Yeah, and I get the feeling that the red was symbolizing like her snap into madness, as well as again, there's a lot of blood in that scene. It's splattering like way more blood than probably there should have been for that, but like that was awesome. That was cool. I'm trying to think of the other kills. Oh, there's the guy who's like the guy funding the whole
the Matthew
porno.
McConaughey looking guy.
Yeah, yes, he does look like Matthew McConaughey. Oh my God. And he's wandering around. I forget who he's looking for at this point. I think he's looking for Maxxine, or maybe he's looking for Jenna Ortega. I forget. But he's wandering around in his tidy
Tiny
whities.
white.
Like, why not put pants on? Like you're gonna be outside, like wandering around in the
It's a
woods. Like
farm,
it's
man.
fucking
It's a farm. It's
I would have put some pants on. And he's wandering around his tidy whities, and then yeah, he gets it with the
he
pitchfork.
steps on that nail, and I
Oh
think
yeah.
I think that was like another thing where Ty West just cranks up that volume because you hear like his foot like hitting that nail, and it's just like a nasty squishing kind of noise, and like it's like I hope he doesn't need to run. Yeah, too late, buddy. And I think he got a rake to the eyes. Is that what I think that's what he got?
It was a pitchfork, I think, right?
Pitchfork, or something
Yeah,
like that to the
through the
eyes.
thing. Yeah, that was cool. Sonny, I took a bunch of notes and I printed them out, but I only printed out the first part. Oh, one thing that cracked me up, I just remembered when at the very end of the movie, Pearl has like a shotgun on
Oh
Mia Goth,
yeah,
and she
yes.
pulls the trigger and goes fucking
Get
flying.
lifted
Like
off
she
her
flies
feet, man.
30 feet back. Oh my God, that was insane. And
So
then you wonder, like, you see Maxine get in the car, like she's gonna get away and just be like, leave this old woman just laying on the ground, and does not. And she
yeesh.
just runs her over, head like a cantaloupe. Boom. Great way to end
What
the
a
movie.
head pop.
And oh man, I wrote down her quote. The very last thing she says was like awesome. I can't remember what it was, but man, the way it ended, I think was great. It was badass.
I do want to go back to something you mentioned that you did like the cast of characters. So I definitely want to talk about two characters there, and I'm not sure if it was like Ty West being brilliant, but he did cast Mia Goth and Jenna Ortega. And I mean, there's a lot of talk out there right now, Rich, in the horror world that these are like the new scream queens. And I'm just
People love
curious.
Jenna Ortega.
I'm
Yeah.
curious, like what you think about that. We grew up in kind of like that. I feel like the more real scream queens kind of time. To me, I don't know. I don't know if I'm so quick to add that, title to them, but I'm curious what you think.
Yeah, so people do throw that Scream Queen title around. You're in like one horror movie or horror franchise, and all of a sudden you're a Scream Queen. Like I always kind of hated like, and this is me personally, like Jamie Lee Curtis being a Scream Queen. Like, okay, she did a bunch of Halloween movies, cool, and she did Prom Night, but maybe I'm wrong, but I think that's it. For me, like a Scream Queen is someone who really is like identified like this person just does horror
Just does
movies
horror.
and
Yeah.
has done a bunch of like iconic characters, not just one character over and over again. And so Mia Goth, and again, I'm not overly familiar with her library. Like she did this trilogy, but like has she
Suspiria,
done other? She was in Suspiria?
the remake, yeah. She did Infinity Pool as well.
Yeah, I liked Infinity Pool. I did. But also like not exactly what I think of when I think of a horror movie. That movie is horrific and I like Infinity Pool, but I wouldn't say it's a horror movie. So I don't know about that. And Jenna Ortega, okay, she's done some of the Scream movies, like she did this, but she kind of, to me, she skews a little younger. And like she's doing the Beetlejuice movie, Adam's Family. And I don't, and maybe she wants to kind of push her career a little bit. I know there's a movie she's in now that people are talking about because I think she has a sex scene with a much older man and people are freaking the fuck out. Um, but I don't know. I'm not quick to give someone that Scream Queen kind of thing. Like I think you got to do a bunch of things and kind of again be be known that like that's what you do. Again, my opinion, like feel free to call yourself whatever you want to call yourself. Like if she wants to do that or they want to do that. I don't know. I kind of reserve that title for certain people.
I mean, for me, I just go back to like days of like Alyssa Rose, Tiffany Shepis, people like
Yeah,
that.
Tiffany Shepis is a Scream Queen. Like she
To
made her
me,
whole career on
yeah,
horror.
to me, it's like, I don't know if, these high budget films. I mean, I just feel like you have to like grind for a long time and really make your mark in the horror world, and people just really appreciate you for being in the film. And it's like I feel like Mia Goth or Jen Ortega, they could pretty much make any film and people will go see it. But like someone like Tiffany Shepis, she would only do like a horror film, and that's exactly why you watch that film. You're like, oh, Tiffany Shepis, I'm gonna watch this. So it's just I don't give them that Scream Queen title. I can't do it.
And to me, a Scream Queen is someone who, and again, I don't know what Jenna Ortega or Mia Goth like. I've never read an interview with them. I don't really know what they're into. To me, a Scream Queen is a horror fan. Like they love horror movies and like want to go to conventions and actually meet horror fans. And again, maybe these two do, and I don't know, but like, so I don't know. I kind of like it's a term like you don't even. Maybe you don't hear that. I don't hear the term as much anymore because I feel like it's lost meaning. Because everyone, you do one movie and now you're a Scream Queen, and it's like, are you though? I think you got to do a bunch of them and again be in that genre. That's me.
I agree with that assessment there. So I'm sorry, people. I don't think they're Scream Queens.
Not yet. And I don't know if they will be. I think they're going to be too mainstream, to be honest with you.
I
But
think
again, this is
so. I mean,
personal
she's
opinion.
married to Shia LaBeouf, so I don't know how,
Oh my God, really?
I don't know how deep into the underground of horror that, she's really gonna get.
One note I had about Jenna Ortega, not about her acting or anything, just her character is like holding the boom mic for this porno movie. And as someone who's held a boom mic before, it's exhausting. And like, I can't do it like without shaking. I had to do it. Oh my God. So like in my last movie, there's like a scene where the two actresses are in the bathtub and we
Yeah, I
had
remember
closed
that.
sets.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And we had a closed set, so like very like it was just me and the camera guy in the room, and I had to hold the boom mic, and I'm holding it like over the bathtub. And luckily, I had to edit this movie, but it's basically you hear the thing like rattling because I couldn't hold it steady because I was so tired. So Jenna Ortega holding the boom for this porno, good for her.
Good for her, and it's a good thing it was a porno. It doesn't matter. Some boom dips into the shot. It's okay. No one's looking at that anyway.
Right. So I think that's all. Do you have any other notes
No,
before we get to
no,
Bloody
no.
Knives? I lost the rest of my notes.
Yeah, it's all right. I just want to say, I only watched it once or twice, but I did like the film. It just for a couple of like cringy things that bother me that probably stopped me from watching it, but rewatching it this time and having the power to kind of skip over the parts I didn't like. I'm definitely gonna keep watching it. I think it's a great film, and I really did enjoy it.
All right, so Bloody Knives 0 through 5, and this is my turn to
This
drink.
is your time, and you're gonna be drinking a little bit because I give this one a 3.
Oh, that's it. Oh
Yeah.
shit! I thought you were going to be much higher than
Listen,
that.
man, it's
Okay.
just too. It's just too.
All right. Okay. All right. I could do 3. Cheers.
Cheers.
Okay. I was scared about that
Yeah,
one.
look
All
at.
right. So you're in trouble though. I liked it a little more than you did. I'm actually going to give it a 4.
What?
And I think it goes back to, again, when, like you said, when this movie came out, it was very fresh and it was
Mhm.
like something we hadn't seen before. And horror was, to me anyway, lacking. And it was cool to see a new horror movie. I think the movie holds up. I think it's something I hadn't seen before. So I give it a 4. So
All right.
go
Well,
crazy over there.
cheers at my Dorsia glass here. You could
And we
edit.
still got one more movie to deep dive into.
You could
So
edit out my gulping if it's coming through.
okay, so like I just realized we've been talking for a long time. I do want to get to
Yeah,
House
yeah.
of the Devil, but before we do that, I do want to talk about Innkeepers really quick. Innkeepers is a movie where, again, it depends on the mood I'm in because this, out of all of Ty West's movies, is the slowest of the burns. Like, this is two people in a hotel basically talking and not a lot happening for a lot of the movie. I think when it does give the scares, I think they're very effective. I think the last 20 minutes of the movie is pretty terrifying. And again, I think there are some scares throughout, and I had some notes, I lost them. One cool fact I read about this movie is they did film it in an inn that is allegedly haunted,
I love it.
and the cast and crew all stayed in that inn while they were filming the movie for 3 weeks. And some people have said they saw some paranormal stuff, so I thought it was pretty cool.
I think that's super cool, and I think it was a great setting for a film. I did kind of like that Ghost Hunters kind of vibe and little kind of scares happening here and there. Again, super slow burn,
Really
but
slow.
I liked it. I liked the story. Soon to be abandoned hotel. What a long 100-year history. I thought it was good. Yeah, I haven't watched it in a while, so I can't comment that much about it, but I do remember liking it, and I've definitely watched it probably 4 or 5 times in my life. So I like it.
I think what I don't like about it, and I could deal with this the slow burn aspect of it because I think the payoff is good. I don't like the two lead actors who you focus on. It's Sarah Paxton, I believe, and I forget the name. And I've liked them in other things, like the lead actor. I can't think of his name, but he was in Cheap Thrills, which I really
Yeah,
liked.
yeah, yeah.
I think she was in it too, right? Or maybe I'm confusing
I
her with
mean, she
somebody
was
else.
in Drive. I remember that.
Was she?
Yes.
Oh, I don't remember that. Anyway, I do like them in other things. I felt like in this movie they were really annoying. Like I couldn't really tell what they were going for. I do like the fact that he's this like creepy like guy that's like trying to hook up with this much younger girl and like is like kind of faking this whole ghost thing just to kind of like get in her pants, and she completely is not interested. So I kind of did like that. But I kind of just, I don't know, if I'm gonna spend 90 minutes, and this movie might have been longer than that, with only really two characters, like I just wasn't feeling them. But again, I do like, and I like what I like about this movie is Ty West had just done House of the Devil, which like kind of broke him out as like a person to watch, and he could have done anything, and he decides to do this almost not even a horror movie. Like it's a horror movie, but it's more of a drama until like you get to the end. Like it was something that I didn't expect to see from this, again, director who everybody was praising as like the second coming of like whoever. Um, and I thought it was an interesting choice, and I respect that. He made his movie. He made something very different that I hadn't seen before. So I like it for that. I do have to be in the mood for it though, because again, it is really slow.
I mean, I was just thinking, I had such a crush on that Sarah Paxton character. I just wonder if I'm that creepy old guy now. So that's what I'm concerned since you mentioned that, because I just stare at, I'm like, man, it's a great film, but maybe it's just her.
Yeah, I don't know. I disagree. Like I mean, she's nice to look at, but I felt like she kind of played off like too childish
Okay.
in a way, and maybe that was the point to kind of show the age difference. I don't really know. I just didn't really, I didn't really care about her that much. But again, the movie's well shot. The scares are good when they do happen. I think the payoff is there. It is a slow burn. Um, so since you haven't watched it recently, I don't really know what more to talk about it. Let's talk about House of the Devil then, the
Hell
one that
yeah.
started it
Woo!
all.
Hell
I
yeah.
remember seeing this movie for the first time, and again, very fresh, something I hadn't seen before. Throwback to early 80s movies, even the way it's shot. It just looks grainy and it looks like something that you would see yeah, it brought me back to a time of movies I love. Uh, so what's House of the Devil about?
Let's see. Cash-strapped college student. She needs money for an apartment to escape like her shitty doormate that just bones everybody. So
I don't know if she bones everybody, but she bones one person a lot.
I feel,
She's always
yeah,
boning.
I feel
Maybe
like,
it's multiple people. I don't
yeah. I
know,
mean, she
but she's
seems,
always fucking.
yeah, she's out there. There's always like something on the door to let you know not to come in. So basically, she takes a job as a babysitter in the middle of nowhere for this creepy family because she needs money for a down payment for her apartment. She finds out that the job isn't exactly what she thought it would be, that there's actually no baby at all, and that she has to babysit for an older sick woman. And to ignore all those red flags, Mr. Ullman, who appears pretty rich, offers her a lot of cash that will put her in a great position. So she takes the job.
$400 plus pizza money, which I guess in 1980 was
In
a lot. So
1980 is a lot of dough. So
look,
I
I'll do
mean,
it. I'll do it for $400 and $20 for pizza. I would totally stay in that house.
it was crazy, but she ignores the red flags and she does it. Sends her friend packing, and now it's basically just her alone in this mansion, and we could pick it up from there and talk about whatever you want.
Yeah, a few things I kind of want to talk about. I have like a bunch of random notes. Number one is the friend character, who's actually played by Greta Gerwig, who is the director of Barbie. I had no idea. I was like, holy shit. I mean, who knows what a director looks like? I don't really know, but I was like, oh my God, like, wow, like that's amazing. The other thing I want to talk about is how fucking good the pizza looks in this movie. And they ate
Oh
pizza
my
a
God.
few times.
My first bullet point is movie always makes me want to get pizza.
And like I live in LA and I always say like no, our pizza's good, our pizza's good. After seeing like this Connecticut pizza, I'm like fuck, our pizza sucks. And at one point Greta Gerwig even says this pizza looks gross and I'm like what are you talking, or she says this pizza's gross. What are you talking about? That looks like the most delicious slice I've ever seen. My mouth is, I'm drooling. Pepperoni.
I'll
Oh my
take I'll
God.
take a small pie right now. It's like
Oh.
every single time I watch this movie, I either have to order pizza or I just had pizza because I will not make it through this entire film without getting a pizza. It's amazing.
And it comes up multiple times.
Oh
Like they have the
God.
pizza in the beginning, they have the pizza, she has the pizza later on. And one thing though that bothers me is like when she gets the pizza pie delivered, and I can't think of the character's name. If you have it, like I'll start,
So
or the
about
actress's name.
AJ Bowen or hers?
No, the female, the lead.
Samantha.
Samantha. When she gets the pizza, she like she gets it, she's all freaked out. She opens the door, shuts the door, and then she holds the pizza vertically. And like if you do that, it's completely fucked. But then it apparently is fine. But like that, I see that, I'm like, oh my God, I don't care how scared you are. Hold that pizza properly. Don't ruin this good, delicious pizza. Um, but anyway, so like that's like a few things that I wanted to kind of talk about. Another thing that I thought was really, a couple things I thought were like crazy is that the Greta Gerwig character, I guess, is the weird kind of friend, and she's goes into the house with Samantha to kind of like feel it out, and she's waiting
Megan.
by
Yeah, Megan, I
herself.
think it was her name.
Megan,
Yeah.
and she's sitting waiting for Samantha to have this conversation with the homeowner, and this guy's got this bowl of like
Oh, the
candies
grandma
out,
candy.
and she takes some,
No,
and like,
no,
and it takes some to go.
she's just that I don't give a fuck character. She's
Why
like,
would you take that candy?
because
That's
she's the
disgusting.
girl you want to drop you off. Like she was backup. That's who she was. They just got caught up and they got rid of her backup because honestly, if there was like real trouble, this girl, she kicks ass, man. She eats candy, she smokes cigarettes, she don't give a fuck, dude. So yeah, that's why she was eating the candy because she doesn't care. That's
Yeah,
why.
and to show how she doesn't care is she drops her friend off and she drives away, and
Mhm.
then she stops the car, I guess, to smoke a
Yeah,
cigarette
where
for
where
whatever
where she
reason
stop it?
on like this dirt road, middle of nowhere, and then okay, AJ Bowen, creepy guy with a beard and like army fatigues or whatever he's wearing, comes over, gives her a light, she lights the cigarette, and then doesn't drive off. just kind of sits there, and this guy's being creepy and blah blah blah, and she's just like, yeah, I'm just gonna sit here and smoke this cigarette. And I don't feel bad when she gets her head blown off, because like, why are you still sitting there? It made no sense to me.
Yeah, I don't know what kind of cartridge was in that 38, but her head literally popped. It was crazy. That was one of the most explosive headshots I've ever seen in a film. So that was good, but I didn't feel bad. I didn't feel bad for her because she should have pulled off, and I'm pretty sure she was parked next to a cemetery. So I think, yeah. So she was just really asking for trouble, hanging out there. I mean, she was supposed to just go home.
Yeah, I wouldn't say this headshot is the same, but it reminded me of that headshot in Maniac,
Oh yeah,
when
yeah.
he hops on the hood of the car with a shotgun and boom. Like, this was good. This was a really good.
It was definitely comparable, I think. So I think as we get into this film a little bit more, obviously there's some sort of like cult involved, and they need to perform this ceremony. And I think it's funny that it's like this is like the only really trope that I feel like Ty West like used. It's like always like the same character running around their underwear tied up some for some reason, and they have to have the devil's baby. It's like, why is it always like the same like plot line? It's like, yeah, we need this character to basically manifest this devil or something like that. That's the only thing I didn't really like about the film. It felt very contrived, that like this whole thing was basically just about every other cult or
Yeah, and it wasn't that like she was special. Like, she was just like a girl they found. Like, it wasn't like they needed like a virgin, or maybe she was, I don't know. But like, it's like she was just whoever showed up was basically now gonna have the devil's baby. And okay, maybe you could do that. That's fine. But like, it just seemed like, I don't know. And again, another slow burn, right? Nothing really happens the first hour of the movie. The last, I would say, like 10 minutes is where it gets intense. But like, what really bothers me about this movie, and there's a few things that bother me. I like this movie. I love this movie. But like, the last 10 minutes, okay, she's like tied up. You also get the feeling that they've done this before, because there was a shot that there's lots of dead bodies. She's tied up, they're doing this ritual, and then she just happens to get away. And as she gets away, like, kills some of them. And to me, it's just made no sense. Like, how is, like, they've obviously tied up and killed people before. She is supposed to be this like 19-year-old skinny female. How is it that she's able to get away like easily, basically, where no one else can? It just didn't make any sense. Like, they just didn't tie her up tight for whatever
would you
reason.
use like a bow to tie her up? And she just like
It was
pulled
kind
the
of
string. Yeah,
ridiculous.
yeah. It was a little contrived in some areas, very original in others. But yeah, I felt a little contrived in like the real like the crux, the core of the storyline. It just felt like he didn't like really flesh it out enough, because I felt like a lot of the other things he did in the film were fairly interesting. I mean, he set up everything right, and there's like, oh, it's just about this. So it
Yeah, it's a very intentional film, and I just feel like the last, again, 15 minutes just seemed thrown together. And again, who knows what happened? Maybe he ran out of money. Maybe like, you never know like what could have gone wrong. But I kind of just felt like it was like, okay, we got to end this movie. Like, let's just wrap it up. She gets away, and then again has that moment in the cemetery with the old man character. And the last 2 minutes of the movie, I felt like it bothered me. Like, I know there's a twist ending, which I hated. It didn't make any sense.
I mean, the ending is super bloody. I mean, she slices AJ Bowen character's throat, and he's just
Oh
like,
yeah, and she slips in the blood and is covered in blood, which I love when someone
it's
slips in
just
blood.
like,
I love that.
yeah. I mean, it just looks so sick. She's falling downstairs because there's like, a blood river happening. And yeah, she ends up in the cemetery. And I'm assuming she takes that same exact gun that just exploded her friend's head, and she shoots herself.
And
She is absolutely alive and still
like,
has the
what?
baby. Like, the baby, the devil baby is okay. She's okay. And she's just like wakes up like 3 days later. She's like, oh, word. Like, she shot herself, right? Like, we watched it like come through the other side of her head. So the only thing I could assume is that there was some sort of supernatural intervention there, because she was already impregnated by this devil baby, which sounds extremely similar to the Lords of Salem plot that we just talked about. But yeah, it was a little like, yeah, why like they could have ended it better, but it does not change my feeling about this film just because of like the nostalgia and the look of it and the story and the setting. There's so many things they did right that I could kind of overlook like the little things.
Yeah, and it's funny, like I was thinking that too, like, okay, was it something supernatural? But even the devil can't piece together a person's brain when it gets blown to pieces. Like it doesn't
Apparently,
make any
I
sense.
mean,
So
apparently you
like,
can.
yeah, I mean, I guess so. I guess she's fine. I don't, yeah, so that bothered me. But yeah, look, it doesn't take away from my enjoyment of the movie. I do wish the last whatever 10 minutes when it like once the ritual starts, I wish they spent a little more time on that because that's when it like that's super intense and creepy. And I just feel like again, like it all happens so fast that I often forget. And even this time, like I was like, wait, I had to rewind a lot of it because it moved so fast for me to kind of like, I guess I wasn't paying attention as much as I should have. But yeah, I mean, look, I do enjoy the movie. I think it's something completely fresh and different. A couple of things that I did like on my notes is one thing I love is that she actually turns on the lights when she's walking through the house. How many times in a movie do you see like a person wandering in the dark and you're like, motherfucker, just turn on
Just
a
turn a
light? And
light.
she
Like,
does.
why
She
are you
puts on the
creeping
light.
yourself out? Yeah.
Yeah, she puts on the lights every time she walks in the room, puts on the lights. And I thought that was pretty cool. I also like I love the tracking shot when she's dancing through the house. I love the choice that he made to like, you know what? Like this is a creepy horror movie. I'm gonna have like a 2-minute dance sequence where she runs through the house dancing, and it looked cool. And I thought that was like something different, very 80s, very cool.
A lot of younger people probably don't even know like what a Walkman was, but it's a fact that she like popped in a Walkman and she had the fix on playing One Thing Leads to Another, which very iconic kind of 80s song. It really fit the scene, and it kind of broke that tension, and I like that she's kind of like digging around these people's houses. She breaks something and she's just like whoops, and she just kind of hides it, which is exactly what probably all of us did like as a kid if
Yep.
we like
I
went
still
to
do that
someone's
shit.
house, or if we went to like a parent's house and like we knocked over something, like it's like I didn't do it. I like she
They'll
got,
find it when I'm long
yeah, it's
gone.
like she got paid all that money and she don't even want to take accountability for knocking over like some stupid vase or whatever it was. But yeah,
One thing I will say though, it's like there's I guess an old lady sleeping upstairs and she's supposed to babysit. And I guess she's like 19, but she's making the biggest ruckus. Like she's playing pool, she's dancing, she's like doing everything but being quiet.
yeah.
It's like she's making so much fucking noise. I don't know. I just thought that was kind of funny. Like, I sit read a book.
Well,
Like,
what would
do
you
you
what
want
would you
this woman to
do?
wake up? I don't want this woman to wake up. I would just sit and like have my Walkman on and just I I'd take a nap.
Dude, have you ever babysat? You make noise. You do shit, man.
Okay, I babysat one time and it was the worst night of my life. I babysat these two sisters and I put them to bed at like 8 o'clock and I'm like, I'm just gonna watch a movie or something. And then they like cried and got up and couldn't sleep and one had a nightmare. And I was like, I'm never fucking babysitting again. That was never, you couldn't pay me maybe $400 and some pizza, I would do it. I probably got like $50 to do this. It was not worth it.
Well, I definitely showed up when, some people were babysitting, and, we were definitely dicking around the house, touching all their shit, going through like their personal crap, like opening
Yeah,
up their
their private
closet. Yeah.
drawers.
Like you just don't give a shit. It's like, I don't even know who these people are. They don't even know I'm here. I'm going to touch your crap. So yeah, I thought it felt very her character felt very authentic to me, because that's probably like what I would have did. I'd be like, hey, you got a pool table, I'm gonna use it. So why not? Yeah, I thought it was a lot of cool things. With this
And most
movie.
of the movie too, it's really just her, basically the entire movie alone. And unlike Lovely, Dark, and Deep, which focused on one character, I do feel like we got to know Samantha. Like, and I liked her and I understood her motivations and cared about her. And a very different approach, right? Again, you see like the music she listens to, you see like her interactions with like, just her like her struggles. So like you can do a movie with just one character and really kind of get into that. Very different again than the other movie we watched.
Yeah, absolutely. We learned so much about her, just the little shots of her like studying, or you know, trying to like better her life, and she's like trying to work, do whatever she has to do to make ends meet. Yeah, it's like it makes you kind of feel for that character. So I have to admit, I was definitely probably rooting for her, which is not my norm because I'm usually rooting for the bad guy. But I didn't particularly like the bad guys in this film. They didn't really do too much for me. They were creepy, and I was like, just let them die. Who cares? Kill them all. Set the house on fire. You know, whatever.
Yeah, yeah, it's weird too because you have like this really older woman, you have an old man and his wife.
Hmm.
Like so, it's the grandma, Mr. Ullman, is that his name?
Yeah, Mr. Allman. There's
Mr.
Mrs.
Ullman,
Allman, then
his wife,
Victor.
and then AJ Bowen, who maybe is their son. I don't really
Yeah,
know,
he
but
is.
maybe
He's a son.
he is
Yeah,
their son.
Victor.
Okay, they do
Yeah,
say that. Which okay, that's interesting if they're like a family. I was confused. I was like, how does he fit into this? Maybe they explain it. I just missed it.
yeah. He works at the pizza shop. He like what did he do? Did he just keep a pizza like in the back of his trunk, hoping hoping that she would order a pepperoni pie?
And I missed this too. I guess the pizza's drugged, and I always
Yeah,
miss
yeah,
this
yeah.
part. So like it's funny because the Mr. Ullman he says like 4 times, maybe actually 3 times. I wrote it down. Why don't you order a pizza? Pizza's the numbers on the fridge. Like really pushes that and subliminally gets her in the head
That
to
was
do
very
that.
psychological because they always say like if you repeat something 3 times, it really gets stuck in someone's head. So that's like an advertising technique, like in a commercial or something like that, where maybe they repeat a phone number 3 times or they give like the tagline 3 times. That's really supposed to get stuck in your head. So I think they're trying to use like a little bit of psychology, but like real psychology 101 to get us on board. Be like, yeah, this guy is pushing this pizza. Why does he care if she's going to order this pizza? I mean, I was going to order pizza anyway.
I did
So
it for the first
yeah,
time. He didn't need to say it
yeah.
three
It's like
times. He
like
said it
I was
once,
gonna
and I'm on the
I was gonna
phone.
do it anyway. I mean, I was gonna accident any good Chinese around there, but I was assuming that maybe they didn't. That's why he offered the pizza. So I was like, okay, let's get the pizza,
Yeah. So
But
does AJ Bowen work at the pizza place, or
I
does he
don't
just go
know.
get the
I
pizza
have
and
no
bring
idea.
it?
Maybe it just keeps in his trunk and it was drugs already and he was banking on it. I have no
Yeah,
idea.
because I think they say it'll take like well the number that she called must have been like his.
His house, I guess. Yeah, maybe. There's no cell phones back then.
That's true. And they say I think it's going to be delivered in 30 minutes or less. I feel like it takes a little longer, which I guess he had to go get. He had actually now he had to call the pizza place to order a pizza and then go get it and then bring it.
A lot of work just to get some weird devil carrying woman to join your
I
cult.
feel like there's easier ways, right? They could have done a million
I
other
mean,
things
maybe if
than
they
do
just
that,
gave her
but
$1,000 and said, "Hey, this is what's going on tonight. Are
yeah,
you
be a
in?"
surrogate. I'll give
Or,
you $1,000. Just let us
yeah,
impregnate you.
are you like in? You have that new apartment. Just this movie it reminds me so much of another movie called Open 24 Hours, and I mean, for
Oh yeah,
me,
you love that movie.
yeah, it's almost like shot for shot. It's different, but the characters are the same, the plot's the same. Pretty much everything is like the same. The feeling is the same. That one's about a serial killer, so it is slightly different. But I think if anyone likes House of the Devil, definitely check that one out next because it really feels the same. And what I do a lot is I'll do them back to back. So I'll watch House of Devil and then put on Open 24 Hours. And for me, it's just like 3 hours of just like the same feel. And I love it. So I definitely recommend trying that. I think they're both on Peacock right now. So you could probably watch on there back to back if you don't have any other means to watch.
Yeah, I think House of the Devil 2 might be on Tubi. I think I streamed it on a service that I don't have Peacock. So, and it's an older movie. It's been around, so it might be on other places too. I think Open 24 Hours also might be on Tubi, for those of us who don't have Peacock. So wrapping up,
Mhm.
again, I know we both really like this movie. I would say out of all of Ty West movies, this one is my favorite. I would say X would be my second favorite, but this one is definitely my favorite of the catalog that he has. Uh, I'm going to give mine first because I want to see you drink. I give this one four bloody knives. I think it's a really good movie. I do think it's flawed. Um, you know, just basically kind of how it ends, but I do really like the movie, so I'm going to give it a 4. So 4 seconds.
So I have to refill here. So give me a second. I got meeting.
It gives everybody at home a chance to refill too. You
Yeah.
know what? I actually, because I know you're probably going to say, I think I know you're going to say something, so I'm gonna refill too,
You
just
better
in
you
advance,
better
so I'm
re
not
up
wasting time.
just in case. I
Yeah.
mean, I guess I have some meetings tomorrow, but we'll see how this goes. All right, here we go. Cheers to
Cheers.
House of
Four
the Devil.
seconds.
Mm.
Damn, I saw your eyes roll back on that one.
No ice in there. That was neat. So
Oh yeah, mine's completely neat too.
that
So
was tough. Well, I really enjoyed House of the Devil. I mean, it's definitely my favorite Ty West movie. I think I probably watched it 40 times in my life. That's how much of a fan I am. Since we're doing shots and I can't give it 4.5.
no, you can. Wait, just half a second.
Oh, okay. Then I'm
Yeah,
gonna
yeah.
give it a 4.5 because I love this
That's
film,
what I thought.
and I'm gonna
Fuck you.
I'm gonna watch it again and again. And honestly, I'll probably watch it like next week because I love this movie. And overall, I like Ty West, so I hope his next film is fantastic.
All right, 4.5. Oh, here we go.
Cheers. Damn. Yeah, so we definitely ran late tonight, and I think it's probably because of all this drinking. Kills a lot of time.
So there is a third part to the drinking game.
No.
No kidding. It's
Oh my
two.
God.
Just two for now, but I bet I will add something at some point. So anyway,
I think we lost half the viewers after the second round, by the way.
Yeah, if we had to talk about another movie, I'd probably be on the floor right now. So I'm glad we're wrapping up now. Yeah, anyway, thanks for checking us out. We'll be back in 2 weeks with another episode. Who knows what we're going to talk about? I don't know. But good night, all.
Yeah, good night, everyone.